As usual, GT7's latest update, of course the March 1.44 patch, this time around brought 5 more engine swaps into the game. I've seen definitely some disappointment on this one, some understandable disappointment because it's a bit samey. In fact, it's very samey because all 5 of these are Mitsubishi Evos, but they're the exact same engine for all 5 of them. Now, the upside to that, especially in the case of something like the Evo 9, I would argue, is that it finally allows you to get more decent horsepower out of the car. And of course, in the review that I did for the Evo 9, I mentioned that you could only tune it up around 550 or so horsepower. Now, thankfully, you can get it closer to 800, and likewise in the case of the Mitsubishi Evo 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. So of course we don't have the Evo 8 in the game yet. I don't think the Evo 7 was included in any of the leaks, if I recall correctly, which is unfortunate. Of course I love the Evo 7, but doesn't seem like it's coming anytime soon. And that is of course the Group B Evo engine, which you can actually put into these. I believe is that the Group B racing version, I think, rather than the road car. I can't recall, but I believe it is the racing version. But either way, it does at the very least allow you to get pretty impressive horsepower out of the Evo. Certainly gives it a much better top end speed. At the start of this video you'll have seen of course that you can do up around 240 miles an hour just in the case of the Evo 9, so that's not bad of course if you wanted to use your Evo as more of a top end machine, and certainly as more of a powerhouse, maybe a drag build. Ultimately it's not as interesting as many of the other engine swap mixes that we tend to have, but at the same time the reason why this doesn't bother me as much as usual is because if you think about it, this is kind of what we are already getting in terms of engine swaps. It's just that we don't usually have all 5 at once, because if you think about it, you've got Chiron swaps, there's a bunch of different cars that have that same thing. You've got GTR Nismo swaps, a bunch of different cars that have that one. They just don't usually jam 5 or 10 of them into one update. They tend to mix and match a bit, so I think because they put all 5 of these together, you just notice it a lot more, which is a bit unfortunate. It would have been nice to have some alternatives in there, but that's what they chose to do this time around. I do find it curious that they went down the Group B Evo route rather than the Escudo route, as they have done before, because of course the Evo 10 can have the Pikes Peak Escudo engine, as can the GTO, which is interesting. Way more horsepower, but also way more lag as well, so you could make an argument that this might be a more useful swap than the Escudo is, even though it doesn't have as spicy of a number sheet. But ultimately that's it for these 5 new swaps. Certainly some good stuff there for Evo fans if you wanted more horsepower, but for the rest of us probably kind of a bit bland, or at least in terms of all 5 having the same motor. Of course we'll have to see next month what other motor swaps are added, and until then I'll see you next time, but for now, thanks for watching.